I think we're live.
All right. Hello, Plexus Biz. Happy Monday. We are so excited, like beyond excited to have the beautiful and amazing Jessica Hoogendoorn with us. She is a close friend of my mom and I's. I'm so grateful to have met her through Plexus and because of Plexus. And she is going to tell a little bit of her story and what brought her here, but then also mainly share business tips and advice with you because she has built an incredible business, has so much wisdom, and we're very, very excited to hear from her. Mom, did you want to give any extra introduction? Because I know Jessica's so special to both of us.
Oh, it's just such an honor because she is a naturopath. She has such a wealth of knowledge. Her and I were talking when we were in Dallas, and she said a few things, and I was like, "Oh, people need to hear this." So it's just wonderful that you're here, and I might ask you some questions along the way, but yeah, just take it away. Tell us what Amber said, how you got here, a little bit of your plexus story, and then we want to hear tips.
Sure. So it's so good to be here, everyone. I'm excited to be on with Lori and Amber. Like Amber said, it's so rich, the friendships that Plexus brings you and how you get to know people you probably would have never met and how they become your buddies that you talk to so often. And just like extended family, especially with the technology and being on Zooms. We were just on a Zoom, what was it, 2-3 days ago, visiting and having fun. So I love it. I love what Plexus has done. So briefly, my story is as a naturopath doctor. I have looked at so many different companies across the years. Like I kid you not, something comes down the line, it was brought to me, and I've looked at a lot of them. There's good companies out there, but there wasn't anything that was set apart. Like what made it different? What was different than what I already had access to as a naturopath? And that is when Plexus came down the pipeline. And I got to admit to being super skeptical of it because I've been approached with so many companies. So in order for me to even look at it, it took about 8 months. And I seen in that 8 months, so many people I personally knew lives changed. People that had been to practitioners, had been to so many doctors, had tried everything and were hopeless. And then I seen them, their lives transformed. And that's what got me curious and got me looking at it. One of the things I also am is a GAPS practitioner, and that stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome. Also helping people heal psychological issues through healing the gut, but also autoimmune and other issues that are incurable. And so the approach that in order for people to have those type of results with things that are incurable, you have to get at where it started. You just have to stop cutting the thistle off at the head in your garden and dig the thistle out. And that is the approach that I loved with Plexus when I researched it. They weren't chopping the thistle off. They were digging the roots out. They were giving the body tools that it needed to truly get the thistle out once and for all. Because how many of us know that when we chop the thistle off, or when we just, that weed that is so hard and we've pulled and pulled in the garden, we can't get it out. And so we just whack it off because it gives us a couple weeks and then it starts to come back up again. And that's what so many people do when they're in the health and wellness field. They're looking for answers, or taking a lot of good supplements that are treating the symptoms, but they're not getting at the root. So when I looked at Plexus, it was honestly the first company. And it's truly the only one even since then, because I've seen so many other companies crop up. And I've heard people say crazy things like, I don't know, this is so much better. And they have all different kinds of stories that they trump up, trying to draw attention away from something that may take a while to fix. And may take the focus off of it. I mean, I was feeling good and then I didn't. And why is that? It's because you're healing. It's because you're detoxing. It's because you were feeling good initially because you gave your body a boost. But then what happened was you hit the hard part, the healing part, the part where you're digging down through rocky soil to get at that root. And then you're wondering, how long does this root go? I literally had jumped on my shovel because the ground was so hard, but the root kept going. And so a lot of times when you get into healing, and that's what I love about our company, is we're truly healing, you're going to go through ups and down cycles of feeling good, and then you're not feeling good. and then you're feeling good, and then you're not feeling good, because you're literally following the root down that may have been there for a long time. And sometimes roots veer off to the side. And so I love the part of plexus that is I know is there for the long haul, for the true healing. And I've been doing it for 7 years. And Amber, how long have you and Lori been doing it?
It's been 8 years now for me, and almost 8 for mom. Yeah, so a long time.
And it was so funny now that we're doing this test today, because Lori, didn't you say you just got blood work back and the doctor's like, whoa?
I did. It was amazing. And she said my inflammatory marker, and she said that she doesn't see 30-year-olds with that number. I don't remember what it was, but she was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah. And there was not nutritional deficiencies or anything, was there?
No, everything was perfect, stellar. 8 years, she said, I know that this is the product because your nutritional profile and all your lab work is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And I love that because, and it makes so much sense because I do so many panels also on people, and I love being able to see people that are willing to stick out the healing, even when you're not feeling things, even when it may not be appear like there's a lot happening, it's happening. And I'll use a quick analogy and then hop on to some business tips. So let's pretend that you bought this farmstead that was like an estate that's been in disrepair for a while, and that's your body. And the house has a lot of potential because you can see the foundation is solid, but there's literally been mice living in it, and there's been some bird nest, and you can just see that the window was cracked and some weather got in some of the rooms. And you go in initially and you sweep out all the garbage, the bird nest, the mouse nest, and the broken glass from the window. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, this already looks so much better. That's us when we're starting to feel better, like, oh, I love it. But then as time goes on, there's parts of fixing up that house where you're literally with a knife chipping away at wallpaper. And it seems like, oh my gosh, this is never going to end. You're spending days chipping wallpaper. But finally, when that wallpaper comes out and you wash the wall down, comes off, then you paint it, all of a sudden the whole room looks bright again. That is cycles of healing. And then you go to the next room and there's a lot of rotted trim on the bottom. And it's not a big difference that you notice when you're peeling it away, but you put on new trim and it's painted and it's fresh, and you paint the walls, and all of a sudden another whole room is transformed. Can you see how there's steps? That's the same way in plexus. So one of my biggest tips is giving people realistic expectations of what it's going to take as they heal. Realizing that if they have had an issue that has been there for a while, you are going to have wallpaper chipping times. There's going to be a couple months where it doesn't feel like a whole lot has happened. Like, honestly, guys, so have been doing plexus now for I think 6.5 or so years. And it wasn't just till about 2 or so years ago that I was looking even at pictures. Oh, I know what it was. I looked at some videos that I shot in the beginning. Oh my goodness. Guys, so much inflammation going on. I had been doing plexus for 4 years. My hypothyroid had healed. My adrenal fatigue had healed. I thought I was doing amazing. And I was. But 2 years later, I'm reshooting that video. I actually took it down. It was a really good video, but I took it down. That's 6 years in. So can you imagine if I would have stopped at 4 years? You know, so much healing happens. There's those wallpaper chipping times. So if you are hearing if you're discouraged, or if you're hearing people say, oh, it was working and then it didn't, they just honestly don't get healing. And that's where I tell people, don't give up on you. Don't give up on yourself. Understand this is what's going on. Because when you push through, oh my word, the difference that it makes. So that is one of my tips, is setting realistic expectation and giving people tips on what that looks like. One of the things that it looks like is Herring's Law of Cure. I actually have that on my team page. If you want to write that down, your body heals in reverse. And just before I hopped in this call, I was talking to a lady that was going through emotional detox. She was doing really good. And now she started having some mood swings. She said, I just feel like I'm going up and down now. and my moods. And I feel like I'm feeling good some days, I'm not some days. What does that mean? And she knows that I have explained to her ahead of time what to expect. So instead of panicking, she's knowing, okay, this is something as a part of it. So I explained that when you are detoxing, your emotions have proteins, they have markers in the body. So when you start to detox, you're going to uncover some of those, and you're going to experience the same emotions you felt when you had those and your body buried them. And so she's like, that is so encouraging. So it's giving people tips like that along the way that realize they're on a healing journey. That's one of the things that I do a lot. And that has really made a difference in longevity and retention. Another thing is that I always start people on the minimum of the Fab Four, Triplex and X Factor, because people have to have that rebuilding part. Our X Factor is so amazing in the fact that it helps your Probio 5 and your BioCleanse absorb even better with the aloe in it. It's giving 50 chelated minerals. Guys, minerals are so important, and plexus is amazing when it comes to the minerals they give us. When they came out with the X Factor, I was so excited because they had chelated minerals. That is the most expensive form of mineral to put in a supplement. Not all companies do that. Plexus does because they have superior product formulations. And so in their chelated minerals, 50 of them, we're getting that in the X Factor. So I always start people out with the Triplex and the X Factor, because then they're going to be rebuilding themselves. They're going to be healing faster. Their gut's going to heal faster. They're going to have more energy because they're getting the nutrients that they can absorb in a bioavailable form. That's our vitamin as well. It's so bioavailable that even if someone is sick, even if they have health issues going on, even if their gut is compromised because of the aloe and the bioavailable form of our multivitamin, the chelated minerals, even the sickest person is going to be able to start absorbing and taking in those nutrients. Our products excel at that. That is why we have the life-changing results that we do. So I start them out on the basic, never just the Triplex. It's a great combination, but the X Factor with it. What happens is they feel better quicker. You never have to worry about less than 100 PV, but their results are going to be the best. And so I start them off on what is best for them. And I never, ever, ever hear it's too expensive. Because by the time that they're ready to buy, they know what they're going in. They know they're going in for healing. They know that's going to take time. And they know the incredible awesomeness of what they have in plexus, the incredible healing power of what we have. So that is my second business tip. Do you want to hear the third one to wrap it up?
Yes. I'm soaking this all in, loving it.
I'm going to what?
I said, there's one I'm going to bring out in you if you don't. So I hope this is the one.
Oh, no, it's actually not. I know what that one is. I'll let you bring that out. Okay. So we're doing a book study on John Maxwell's book called Leadership. And one of the ending parts of the chapter this past week was on comfort. And we were talking about the comfort zone that we hear so much about. Growth happens outside of the comfort zone, and it does. But my partner and I that I was doing the book study with said, think about it like this. We say that it's hard to do life outside of the comfort zone. It's a scary thing. It's difficult to do, but we know growth happens, but we bulk it. But she said, let me ask you a question. Are you comfortable when you go to town and you have to put things back on the shelf because you can't afford it? Are you comfortable when you're on a trip and you are looking at different motels and you just hate going into motels where you're scared of bed bugs and they look like they're but you can't afford to go where you would feel safe really, or where you know it's really clean? Are you comfortable when something breaks down and you legit don't have the money to fix it for months? Are you comfortable when your children would love to be in a certain sport, but it's either food or sports? Are you comfortable when you want to go on a vacation with your family? It's been so long since you've been on a vacation, but you can't afford a vacation. Is that comfortable? It's not. So many people stay in what they call comfort because they're used to it. But if they stop and think, it would be so much easier to step out of the comfort zone and be able to afford a nice motel, to be able to say, hey kids, we're gonna go on a family vacation this year, to be able to go into Costco or your favorite grocery store and be able to buy organic vegetables and fruits that you know are healthy. That's comfort. That is what comfort is. It is not comfortable to be over here. And we've all been there. It's okay. But I want you to challenge if what you are not wanting to do, that it's uncomfortable now because it's unfamiliar, is worth staying in this very uncomfortable zone that is not necessary to stay at. And it really made such a difference when we look at it that way. I would much rather have the discomfort of learning something different, but be able to go on the graduation trip I'm going on with my daughter. It's so much better to step out of the comfort zone.
I love that. I want to add one thing, and then Mom, I'll let you bring out what you want to. With the comfort zone, I framed it one time and it made sense, just like what you're saying, as a cage. It really is a cage that is keeping you from all the things that you mentioned, Jessica. I know when I started, I had one son who was 15 months old. I didn't know that my second child, my daughter, was going to have speech issues and therapy needs. And when we had to pay that out of pocket, I was shocked at the cost and thought, I never would have been able to afford this. She has really bad eye issues and her glasses are $600-700. And I never would have been able to make that work without strain. So even thinking about maybe not what is current, but what might be coming. I know Mom's framed it before as like a plan B, or having that security for the future of not knowing what you're going to need. And there's been so many stories like that in Plexus over the years where people had no idea that this giant thing was coming in their life, that Plexus allowed them to go through without that financial worry and stress. So yes, the comfort zone is a cage. It keeps you from your best self as well. I love that you said what's unfamiliar, because even just posting on social media, most people are just consumers. We're all just taking for ourselves and consuming for ourselves. But being in Plexus and having to be outward, having to add value to your friends and family, that makes you your best self, not for yourself, but for others around you. So much to that. Thank you for bringing that out. Okay, Mom, go ahead.
Okay. You know, I kind of don't love my role sometimes because I feel like I'm not the nice one. And that's always my role. So it's just, I hate to say this, but one thing Jessica and I were talking about, and if you're watching this, like, please don't let this hurt your feelings in any way. Because I'm not intending it.
Lori.
I feel like you're here because you want the business, right? And so there's a certain drive, a certain aspect. And one thing I'll tell you, when I started Plexus, I was not the same. I'm not the same person that I was when I first started. I did not know how to post on social media. The idea of a Zoom scared me to death. And so, but one thing I knew about myself, and if you know this about yourself, this is something that Jessica and I talked about. And that is, I knew that I wasn't a quitter. I knew that I would apply myself. I knew that I would learn all the things. I knew that I would show up. I knew that I would do the hard things. And so when I asked Jessica to come on and share her tips, she said something pretty funny, but it was along the lines of, you know, when you're a kid and you don't really feel like washing the dishes, but you know, you show up and do it anyway. And so it wasn't said quite like that, but but anyway, you do your work. We are entrepreneurs. You do the daily activities, you do them with consistency. And just like when you take your products, that's where the results come from. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Lori's being so tactful. So I had to chuckle because right before I went to Dallas, I was on a phone call with my sister, and we were talking about childbearing, and one of her kids said something really funny, and she kind of gave them the same reply that I did. And one of my kids were saying, they were listening, they started laughing. They said, you mean like she's acting like you, Mom, where you'll tell us, okay, if you have to throw up, go throw up and finish your dishes, and then you can lay down. And I'm like, oh, that actually came across. And so my kids know that pulling a headache, I mean, if it was something serious, of course, but it's the concept of learning to push through when you don't feel like it. How many of you as a mom, you can raise your hand if you're watching, have felt sick unto death, but you had a baby that needed to be nursed? Or you wanted to sleep in, you have not slept in a week, but all your kids are up and you know that they would probably kill themselves if you weren't there because they're so little. Those times you just did it. And the concept in this business, and it's hit me so hard this past month for some things, I mean, just some incredible breakthroughs we had, like last month, 2 jewels ranked up. And you know what it was? Both of those were 5 years from Senior Ruby to Emerald, and then 4 years and 1 month from Emerald to Sapphire, and overcoming so many obstacles. But I've seen those girls show up day in, day out, when emotions and feelings had zero to do with it. In fact, emotions and feelings were the exact opposite of doing it, wanting to do it. And so I have literally, I'll tell you the last story to put this into perspective, and Eva chuckles at it, but I had flown to Pennsylvania to do some sip and see. The day before, I ate some bad meat. And I remember standing at my cousin's house and I was projectile vomiting with food poisoning. I was so sick. I was shaking and sweating. And I saw people walking into the building where I was supposed to speak. And a lot of them were Amish, so they had drivers. They'd come in from a distance. And I probably had like 40, 50 people. I couldn't cancel. And so I literally threw up in the bushes, washed my mouth, washed my face, went down, did the presentation. I remember saying, I need to go blow my nose, going to the bathroom, puking and running the water so nobody could hear, coming out and finishing the presentation. Now, that whole point that I'm making is you may not have to do that, but it takes grit. And the people that are successful have grit. So I'll end with this. How many times, Lori and Amber, I know in the last 6 months, because we moved in November, had Christmas, had a house full of people, and we've been unpacking and traveling and just doing so much this year. Most of my work has been done late at night or early morning where the feelings are irrelevant because we need to do it, right? Yeah. When you start a business, if you have 1 or 2 people under you, you're responsible to show up for them,
Yeah, exactly. And show up before they're even there. If you want to be that person who has grit, who has dedication, develop it now, right? Because it's a habit. It's a characteristic trait. You can grow that character trait in yourself. I was not naturally full of grit, like Jessica said. I was not naturally disciplined at all. I made it my word of the year about 3-4 years ago. I put it on everything. I still have journals. I still have folders just labeled with the word self-discipline because I wanted to grow it in myself. I wanted that habit, that sense of self that Jessica was talking about, that I saw in Wendy and Brenda and Eva. I saw this just powerful, not just confidence, but that self-trust of I will be here and I will do this. And I wanted that in myself. So I had to grow it. So it's not something that you have it or you don't. You can grow that in yourself. If you're listening, know that that's 100% possible. It took my mom 11 months to go diamond. It took me 3 years to go diamond. I had to grow myself, like Jessica's saying. So I love those powerful, powerful stories, Jessica. Thank you. People are in the comments like, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine. But you're right. Showing up. You're like, what was I doing at the time? Showing up when it's not convenient because you're showing up for your future and what you want there, right? So thank you, Jessica. Thank you so much. The comments are blowing up. We have so many people loving this and needing this. Thank you for the validation you bring to others and the service that you provide. And we're so appreciative for you and love you and thank you. Thank you. Yes, everyone's in the comments. Yes, thank you so much, Jessica. We will see you all next Monday with another incredible jewel speaker sharing. And we're so grateful for all of you and proud of you for your consistency and showing up and being here. So Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
We'll see you all next week.